Hello, Saltines. Thank you for joining us for the Salty Witches podcast, where you can find us on all major streaming services, including YouTube. As you can see, I am joined today by two very lovely individuals. Get us both all on camera. So, both all, yes. So, we have Fern, who is not only a member of the community here at Cat and Cauldron. Okay, fine. We have
My name is Fern. I am not only a community of Salt Lake City, I am also a member of the Calgary Coven. I have been practicing for about 2 years now. And I am Navajo. I'm Danae.
we have
I'm Wendy. I've been on the podcast here and there. If you're lucky enough to hear me, just kidding. I'm here to support my sister here to get the word out on this very important topic.
Yes, so our topic today that we're going to be talking about is the missing murdered Indigenous women's movement. And it's really important to us. We've done some really great work with it in the sense of like working together and supporting each other. But also, it's come to not only my attention, but I'm sure both yours attention, that there's more focus on spell jars and return to cinders in magic and witchcraft in the popular world. Oh, and cord cuttings, don't forget cord cuttings, than there is on utilizing witchcraft and magic for the things that witchcraft and magic should be used for. So I'm going to go ahead and hand things over to Fern and Wendy. Mike is here. Mike will be asking questions and kind of directing. He is off camera. We just didn't have enough room because I'm
very large.
I take up a lot of space. I'm just a big energy and a big person.
Fern, you have some statistics that I think we need to go over these, because I think it amazes me, and I'm sure this has been your experience, but it amazes me when this comes up. I just had this conversation with someone the other day, a white man, of course. And I mentioned MMIW, and he just looked at me like,
what?
I don't know what that is. I'm like, motherfucker, get out of my school. And so I'm honest, I'm dumbfounded how there are people out there who still don't know what this is. So you have some statistics, and I think these are so important. Will you share those with our audience?
That because there's so many little acronyms. So it can be MMIW, which stands for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women. There's also an R, which is more commonly used now, is relatives. We've got girls with a G and an M for the male. But as we are women, and the women tend to be on the very bottom of the priority list with the justice system, we are supporting the missing murdered Indigenous women. This includes girls.
Yes.
Well, and so that's a really good question, just for clarification, for me. So you would probably know. I know a good number of our audience are also members of the LGBTQ plus community.
Yes.
So the MMIW movement, I believe that does also include Two Spirits.
Yes, Two Spirits,
Right, okay,
definitely,
yeah, okay.
because there's a lack of awareness. It for some reason it just seems to be swept under the rug, at some point.
And fetishization.
Exactly, and it's just.
Share those statistics with us, and we're all going to shut up.
And go for it, Fern.
This is sad because this is 2016. That's the most recent data we could find in our rabbit hole for this. So go ahead.
Okay, forgive me. I may start crying. We just recently did a working in for our sisters. So this is as of 2016. The National Crime Information Center has reported 5,712 cases of missing American Indian and Alaskan Native women and girls. Strictly, the U.S. Government of Justice Missing Persons Database has only reported 116 of these cases. The statistics: Indigenous women plus girls are murdered 10 times higher than all other ethnics. Murder is the third leading cause of death for Indigenous women centers. This is according to the Centers of Disease Control. More than 4 out of 5 Indigenous women have experienced violence That's 84.3% according to the National Institute Justice Report. More than half Indigenous women experience sexual violence. That is 56.1%. More than half the Indigenous women have been physically abused by their immediate, intimate partners, and that's about 55.5%. And less than half of our Indigenous women have been stalked in their lifetime, and that's about 48.8%. Indigenous women are 1.7 times more likely than Anglo-American women to experience violence. Indigenous women are 2 times more likely to be raped than Anglo-white women. The murder rate of Indigenous women is 3 times higher than Anglo women. So that's just the brief statistics of what's happening.
And that's just 2016.
Yeah, and that's the most recent that we have.
Yeah, that's just 2016. That's not 2024. That's not even 2020.
It's way too long, and according to the statistics, Utah rates number 8 in the top cities, and this is 77 cities out of 77 cities. I mean, the top 8, for crying out loud. Salt Lake City alone is in the top 10 as well.
Well, and we know, as is often the case with these kinds of statistics, because this information is information that can only be really kind of brought together. This research, this information is something that really is only produced with what is readily available, what the FBI and what other law organizations have access to. And as is often the case with other kinds of crimes, like incidences of rape, sexual assault, we know that these numbers have to be much higher.
I would say quadruple.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. I mean, like, it's just, and the thing is that most of the reports that do come in are reported on the reservations. And the reservations, you know, the numbers don't get out, you know, so, and I
Right here, it's 116 reported cases, but there's 5,712 that we know is out there, minimum. This was as of, 8 years ago.
so.
It is imperative that our listeners and our viewers understand, first and foremost, that if you want to consider yourself an ally, or you want to claim that 16th Cherokee princess, you need to put up or fucking shut up, because I can't tell you how many times people have come in and go like, oh, well, I'm Native American. Why don't you carry white sage? And they're blonde haired and blue eyed. And I'm like, cool. So what about the MMIW movement? And they're like, what? Because it doesn't affect them.
I was noticing just today, I saw a promo on social media, and I'm not going to name drop anybody because I don't want to be shady about this, but I was very disappointed in again, the perspective, or the what happens in certain aspects of the spiritual community, and really this has always been the case. What happens in certain aspects of the spiritual community, where you've got all of these people who are more than happy to appropriate and take the spiritual practices, the cultural practices, hell, even the traditional dress of these communities. And say like this is mine now, this is my, and or spirit made this available for everyone, and as far as arguing all of that, that's not the point. The point is like, okay, you want to take from this, but where's your real sense of responsibility here? Right? Like these are like, it amazes me that they want to like, it's that very much that pick and choose,
Yes,
that spiritual colonist thing.
They want the spiritual alignment and they want the spiritual practice, but they don't actually want to know anything about anything.
Yeah, there's a lot of responsibility, because even, we're talking about, burning white sage, people got killed over it. Our people got killed over it. There was murders over it. There was slaughters over it. I mean, over a plant.
Say that again, because I think that's so important out of your mouth to say, because we get people all the time coming in wanting the white sage, And we will say, our indigenous friends have asked us not to carry it. It's for their ceremony, it's their sacred medicine. That is not our place.
Yeah.
It's not good enough. So say that again, Fern.
It's not yours.
And it
It's
was
not
people
yours.
even
And
murdered for it.
our people died for it. Our people were killed for it. They were starved for it. They were displaced for it, you know, and the fact that we had to, and this is just recently that we were able to actually cultivate and grow it ourselves
Late
because
eighties.
yeah, I mean everybody's into the 80s, you know, woohoo, but guess what? There was people dying over a plant that you want to burn and you want to say that's sacred to you. No. No. Do your research, do your history, look at it. And if you really, really feel that connected to Sage and she speaks to you,
Then one
then
of the other 500 and whatever species of sage.
Over 700.
700. Oh my goodness.
or learn more about MMIW.
Yeah.
Well, bringing it back to MMIW, okay, because we've
Yeah,
all
we
done,
can.
we've all done our
Yeah.
white sage
Yes.
rant.
Yes.
Again and
Yeah.
again. No, you're good. That rant coming from you for it
Yes,
is
it's
important.
meaningful.
It's very important.
So, but bringing it back to MMIW, we've talked a lot, you presented all of these statistics, you know, and I think statistics are there, it's important information to have because that gives the people who care, people who
Yeah.
are willing to learn and who maybe are in a position to kind of show up and, you know, and they want to put themselves maybe into a little bit of a position of responsibility to help kind of maybe turn the tide here, right? Statistics are wonderful, but I think that a lot of people get lost with this kind of information because we tend to be so focused on the answer. So can you talk a bit for our audience? What can people do at this point? How can they get involved?
Oh
How
my,
can they support?
oh my goodness. First of all, you need to get in contact with your government. You need to get in contact with the local FBI. You need to get in contact with your senators, your governors, go to the chapter houses on the reservations, go talk to the delegates down there, you know, ask, how can I help? What can I do? Get your voice out there, you know, and there was, you know, a recent with the Cole,
Yeah, cool.
with Cole,
braids.
with the braids and he, you know, and that movement went out there. That stuff like that, it needs to get out. Also, our sisters, the missing and indigenous women, I mean, there's countless of ways to do it. Your local government, the FBI, write letters to your senators, write letters to, you know, the government, write letters to the president of the United States.
And you know what? I will say
I
this
mean-
as a white woman supporting my sister here. I knew that I wanted to guide her through this and help her because I know she needed support and I'm here for her. And I was a little intimidated to go to the Native American Trading Post
Don't.
because I didn't feel it was my place, that it was for me. I felt extremely welcome. We were dancing like crazy in the store, but what I want to say is you can talk to the people that work there. You can talk with customers. There is a community board that has a lot of the issues that they're going through, meetings, important people in the community that you can talk to. And that really opened my eyes to not to just, I can look at stuff on the computer, but physically getting out there and visiting Native American trading posts. I don't know what they're called in other cities, but
A lot of places don't, depending on the area and the size of the city, the size of the town, they may not have something like that, but you know, but there are still community organizations and things in most places.
Yeah, a lot of cities will have community centers.
Yeah, there's the urban, they used to call it the Native Center, but now they call it the Native or the Urban Community Center, which is basically all of different indigenous
Yeah.
people can go. I believe a lot of metropolitan cities do have those. Get involved. If there's powwows, you know, there's powwows, and those powwows are remarkable. And you know, the thing is we are very spiritual and we work strictly with ancestors, a lot with ancestors. And the fact that we can get you involved, you know, it doesn't matter your color. It doesn't work. It's something we need help. Your indigenous people need your help. We need your help. And, you know, I'm only one person but I have
you have a
I
posse, yeah.
have a posse. I have a posse and a team, you know, and everybody here at Cat and Cauldron, they actually support. everything and everything that we've done. And, and please don't be intimidated. Don't be intimidated. Please don't, and there's going to probably be a lot of criticism from, some of my Indigenous people that want to keep it private, but we can't keep it private anymore.
If you keep it private, it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, there's no voice, and we have to have a voice. And I really appreciate, the listeners taking the time to do some research, just go to, you can actually Google the MMIW. There's one with Utah here, and their site's not very updated, and I'm trying to work with them to get that going, and hopefully maybe we can do that. And I know
It's
there's
called MMIW plus Utah.
Yeah, so, but there's a lot of information out there, and just especially get in touch with your
Even if
FBI.
you're letting people know what MMIW means is important. If you see it cross your social media feed, share it. That way we can get the word out there. That's something easy you can do.
Talking about it is important, and I think as Fern was just mentioning, going and checking out a place like the urban center, the urban community center,
Right.
Other centers around not only our area, but actually like Indigenous American communities,
Yeah.
organizations, and shit, and even organizations like Big D. And
Yeah.
these other
Yeah, the water.
types of
Yeah.
things, like anything. And I'm only bringing up Dig Deep in it as an example because it's another way, I think, beyond just the humanitarian effort. I think, and I'm sure you would agree. I would hope you would agree. I hope our audience would agree. But I think it's easier for us to, I won't say easier. It is easier, but it's better for us. I think we show up, we take responsibility, we care if we can get to that moment where we see the Indigenous people as people. And this is part of our community. This isn't just some random group that lives somewhere else in the middle of nowhere, right? They're not in any way connected to me, my life, whatever, right? Like we have to bring back the humanity, and we have to understand that these are people. And I think in doing that, and making that effort, going to a trading post, going to a community center, having those conversations, even if initially they might be awkward or difficult, that gives you the ability to see like these are people. These are people who are worthy of safety and happiness, and and so yes, I think we need to again make sure that that's really clear.
Definitely.
One of the things that is really important when you are trying to reach out to Indigenous outlets in any way, shape, or form is one, respect. And two, I'm going to tell you right now, not just Indigenous people, but people of color, just in general, minorities, are sick and tired of having to educate you. Okay. So do all you can to educate yourself, but also understand when you step in and you go there, doing something and saying something like, oh, well, I didn't know. That's not an excuse anymore. Google is at your fingertips.
Well, and don't put the responsibility to educate you on the people
Exactly.
who are part of that community.
Exactly.
People who in those communities, BIPOC communities, just whatever, right? The people in those communities have been screaming and crying and trying to educate white people for centuries. And you as someone who is on the outside of that community, it is your responsibility to educate yourself.
Yes.
And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. I mean, this is 2024. WikiLeaks happened, for crying out loud. Don't be afraid. Just there's no more of we have to break that silence of racism. I call it silence racism because people will see you and they're like, oh, well, I'm going to quietly find a way to connect with you. You don't have to find a way to connect with us. You don't. We want to connect with you, and we want you to just say, look, shout, cry for our sisters, help us find them. That's all, and educate yourself, and you're welcome. Please.
We are lucky. Not everyone has a burn, though.
For sure. But for that also is a good kind of segue into another thing that I wanted to make sure we talk about. You talked about like screaming and crying for our sisters.
Yes.
For the sisters, cousins, mothers, aunties, grandmothers, all these, for all of these women and Indigenous people. I think I can say for sure, and I'm not going to go into details around some of the spiritual work that we've done, but this podcast is about spiritual work, right? And I think maybe some of our audience are kind of wondering, like, well, you know, how exactly does this connect to witchcraft? How exactly does this connect to the occult? You know, and oh my God, if you can't see that, oof, you better give it up. But we've done some spiritual work. I wouldn't call it magic work necessarily, but the experience was certainly magical. But I know I can for sure, I can say that in the moment that we were doing that work, I could feel those souls. And it wasn't those souls specific, maybe that's not a good way to put it. I could feel the need behind those souls for recognition
Yes.
and justice, and to be able to finally go home, you know, even though they may no longer be among the living, you know, like all of that was palpable. And I think a lot of our audience, of course, are going to maybe find that they're not really able to relate to that kind of experience, right? Which is very unfortunate. But I think that though is a good example of how this is very much a spiritual thing. As spiritual practitioners, as witches, as whatever the title might be, folk magician, medicine worker, whatever people may call themselves, right? We take responsibility when we assume those titles, and we learn those mysteries, and we do those things. We assume responsibility, I think, to be wardens not only of our planet, but also to be of support to our community. And these Indigenous people are part of our community, absolutely. And I think for any spiritual practitioner to turn a blind eye to this issue, like if you can do that and still go to sleep at night and not feel like twinge of guilt, there's something fucked up with you.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with you. So do any of you guys have anything to add to that? Because I want to make it clear to our Saltines that this is indeed very much, this is absolutely an issue that every witch, every occultist, everyone should care about.
Every witch. I mean, it's like seriously, the, you know, being from the Indigenous culture, we have our east direction. We have our protectors that are from the east. We have our protectors from the south. We have our protectors from the north, and we have our protectors from the west. And being a spiritual or being a witch, I'm practicing and learning how to incorporate my native culture, which has been practiced for
Ever.
And it's an ancient thing. We've been herbalists. We know how to talk to the spirits from the four corners. You as witches can talk to these same spirits. You can ask them. You can do some research. There are in your own area. You go onto the website and find the missing Indigenous women and find those names. You can find those names and ask for our protectors to come in and help, to direct and guide our sisters and brothers, our relatives, you know, and it's the simplest thing of doing just simple research. Just do some research. Our colors match, our elements match in the craft. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. And my sister and I created the sigil.
Yeah.
There it is.
So it's got the M for missing, the M for murdered, and then you got the I and the W. Missing and murdered Indigenous women. If you guys want to use the sigil, please do. The more it gets used, the more power. The
No,
more
please.
power it has. Put it on your candles.
And burn it
Burn
and find those names, look up those names, and we're going to read through some of those names.
Let's do that next. Yeah.
And
I do want to add something.
Mhm.
You know, I know witchcraft isn't easy, and people say that. But until you actually figure out that witchcraft is not easy, you don't know what it means. Now, being aware of these things and not being able to be oblivious anymore is something that we have to wear on our shoulders. It is our burden to bear. We no longer have the excuse of, well, I didn't know. Austin said that earlier. We all should know. We are wardens of the earth. We are wardens of its people as witches. It is our responsibility to stand up for those who don't have a voice. And these women that we are going to talk about next have no voices anymore. We are the ones that are lifting their voices up, getting their names out. They are not forgotten. They will never be forgotten, and their memory will live on with us. And until they go home to their mountains, their direction that they want to go, then it is our responsibility now. So yeah, witchcraft isn't easy, guys.
No, and it's a hard burden to bear, and we have all want to connect with their ancestors. Guess what? Connect. We can.
Let's read some names,
Okay.
because
Okay.
I think that the
This is-
knowing of the names is important.
Yeah.
And these are
This
just some of the names.
This is the Navajo Nation as of April 1st, 2024, and this list can be found on the FBI government list. This is directly from them. Each name has their date of birth, so you can see the wide range of ages. We have a 90-year-old great-grandmother and an infant. So the age is all over the place. It's non-discriminatory. Is that the word?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Whoever is
Yeah.
abducting these people and doing whatever god
Yeah.
horrible things, they do not care.
No.
They don't care.
Yeah, they don't care.
I'll hold this for you.
The names that we're reading, I'm going to read their name and the year that they were born, not the year that they went missing, so you can kind of see. And before I begin, I just want to pay respect to my ancestors and my elders, and for giving me the opportunity and the voice to be able to say and speak for you. And for the families and your family members, their names that I'm about to read, we honor you
We honor
and
you.
we wish you the best protection
Healing
and healing for your loved one and your family
and strength.
and strength. Amanda Rodriguez, 1991. Amber Pinto, 2005. Angel Roanhorse, 1985. Angela Thompson, 2010. Anna Curley, 1962. Anna Warren, 1991. Antoinette Caito, 1976. Antoinette Belen, 1985. Ariel Martinez, 2007. Ashley Collins, 1997. Ashley Rosales, 1987. Andrea Bartley, 2010. Belinda Sotoleto, 1998 or 1988. Bernadette Sosi, 1980. Bernita Shields, 1974. Betty Claw, 1946.
Polanda Curley, 1988. Candace Mambolito, 1988. Carolyn Sosi, 1973. Carrie Garrio, 2008. Christine Julian, 1972. Corinne Benecourt, 1984. Danette Billy, 2001. Deandra Province, 2008. Deandra Eno, 2005. Elaine Small Canyon, 1995. Ella Begay, 1958. Geraldine Begay, 2002. Gloria King, 1954. Haley Pacheco, 2008. Harriet Dawes, 1987. Jackie Padilla, 2006. Jansen Sedcody, 1982. Jolene Charlie, 1970. Juliette Vicente, 1958. Kaylina Begay, 2010. Carrie Ann Lee, 1996. Kimberly Yellowhair, 1987. Christina Carrillo, 1984. Lanai Shabi, 1963.
Leticia Desidero, 1990. Laverda Sorrel, 1957. Latrice Sago, 2004. Mary Bentley, 1967. Marquisha DeLay, 2006. Matilda Salego, 1983. Melanie James, 1992. Melina Montoya, 1972. Melissa Montoya, 1958. Mia Martinez, 2007. Misty Bidani, 1988. Monica Wilson, 1994. Nishoni Boyd, 2003. Patricia Bennett, 2007. Pepita Red Air. Oh, that was right. Okay, Pepita Red Air, 1992. Renelle Bennett, 1988. Renee Shoei, 2008. Roxanne Chester, 1988. Sadie Mooney, 1923. 1923. Sabrina Johnson, 1984. Serenity Williams, 2006. Chikia Geshwazara, 2007. Shania Charlie, 2005. Chantel Billy, 1980. Stephanie Brown, 1988. Tamika Platero, 1999. Timithia Charles, 2004. Tanya Begay, 1980. Tamara Lewis Emerson, 1987. Teresa Powell, 1975. Teresa Concha, 1979. Tiffany Gray, 2005.
Tiffany Reed, 1987. Hanya Wilson Smith, 1993. Tanisha Uslu, 2007. Tyra Bitsui, 2007. Valima Pinto, 1983. Wilhelmina Whitewater, 1972.
That is 70 names.
Which is nothing compared to 2016 to now. And the list just keeps growing. It just keeps growing.
As we read those names, we honor those women.
We honor the women.
Their families,
Their
their
families.
ancestors, their spirit.
Say their names, say their names, say their names.
You can find this information all over the place.
Yes. Scream their names.
Great.
Scream for them. Wail for them.
Cry for them. Ask spirits, your spirits. You work with spirits. We're witches. You have them. They're out there. We believe in them. We believe in them. We practice the same thing. You know, it's just a different word. It's just a different word. We practice it. Ask your spirits to go and find them. Go on your website and go into Google and find the names of these women and use the sigil on burn a red candle. You know, put it on
Why
there.
the color red, Fern?
Because it represents the MMIW logo of not being able to speak.
Which is why this is kind of in the form of a hand as well.
We don't have a word. Our missing Indigenous women, they have no voice. It's gone. There's nobody out there to scream for them and yell for them. And we want you to, we need you to. You're Indigenous people, you know, you love our food, you love our colors, you love our, you love everything, and we love you. We love you, and the time of being united is now. The time to bring these women home is now. It's been too long, and again, if it was an Anglo woman, if it was a white woman,
Be on the news.
it'd be on the news. It would be fine. We barely got, the landfills that were being searched for the missing women that were buried there and dumped there from a killer. They wouldn't do anything, and they were finally able to find closure to that, and it was years of screaming.
I'm gonna remind everyone who watches this video is in Utah, and I think it was actually nationwide. Need I remind you of Elizabeth fucking Smart?
Yeah.
Little white girl goes missing. Oh, and she did heart and all this other stuff. Prominent in the Mormon church here in Utah. I could not hear the end of that for this one white girl for years and years and years and years and years and years. So Elizabeth Smart, you should use your fucking white privilege and voice and get some shit done. Maybe some of that money your parents gave you.
I'm gonna call you out, girl. Please. You went through it. You were begging. You did. Use your voice.
Everyone should be using their voice.
Everyone.
And I think, again, bringing all of this back to, you're good.
Do not
You
apologize.
feel what you feel. And
I'm tired of being silent.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think that, kind of, again, bringing this back to a place where we can make the connect here for our audience a bit more. We've spoken a lot on the podcast, and we get questions constantly about ancestral work, things like that. Fern today has mentioned ancestral work a few times, and I think that people get, it continues to be some confusion around there, but for our audience, I want to make it very clear that if you are someone who is practicing your spiritual path, whatever that is, witchcraft, whatever it may be, right? You're doing that on land that was not native to you, like you were not born there, your family was not born there. Very often you're going to find that the spirits that you are working with and connecting with, these are the spirits of the ancestors of these women.
Work with them.
And absolutely, but at the same time, acknowledge the fact that you are connecting to genus loci, you are connecting to land spirits, you are connecting to the spirits of humans that are of these communities. And you are calling upon those spirits, asking them for their protection, their power, their peace, their healing, their prosperity, whatever it is. And if you want to be able to do that in a way, I think that is much more honest and ethical, and ultimately in a way that will get you better results, honor these people, honor these women. Because these spirits you work with were their spirits first. And I think that's another really practical way to kind of put the importance of this into the minds of many people who may be struggling with knowing what to do. Okay, now remember that the work doesn't stop there. We cannot just do the spiritual stuff, right? You already mentioned, like, people to talk to, government agencies to talk to, right? Other people in other communities to go meet, smile, shake hands, get to know these people, right? We have to do everything. We have to be holistic in that approach. But if you're struggling to figure out how this connects to your spirituality, that is just one of the ways.
You're on their fucking land.
Yeah, you're right there. They've been watching you this whole time. They've been watching you this whole time. And trust me, your work, I can tell you about that. Your work will get more powerful.
Absolutely.
And if you like necromancy, I mean, if it's something that you like, is necromancy is your flame, guess what? You have plenty. Plenty of stuff to work on. Plenty.
Well, and I think it's beyond even just ancestors and practices like, within the realm of necromancy. I think that we know a huge component. I mean, this would be clear to anyone, right? I mean, we look at the overwhelming percentages of people who have gone missing, the women who have gone missing. And I know that this is something that has affected other people. There are men who have gone missing. There are two-spirit people who have gone missing. So it's everyone, everyone has been affected by this, but overwhelmingly these are women. And and we know that because of that, some element of this has to come down to good old-fashioned misogyny.
Yes.
And just the hatred and the objectification of women. And if you are a practitioner of fetishization, absolutely. And if you are any kind of spiritual practitioner that gives emphasis or places emphasis on divine feminine power, you pray to goddesses, you pray to divine feminine spirits of whatever culture, of whatever tradition, for you to appeal to those spirits for whatever it is that you do, and then to be able to turn a blind eye upon the crimes and the aggressions and the violence perpetrated against women, these women, you're fucking it up.
Shame on
I'm
you.
just gonna say,
Seriously.
So these are the ways, going back to what Wendy said, these are the ways that I think witchcraft can be hard.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna do it right, you have to do this shit too.
Witchcraft is hard because you have to widen your window of self-perception enough to realize that you're not the only fucking person that matters. And it tastes like vinegar, as Fern would say. It tastes like fucking vinegar. But the reality is we have so many people who say they work with Hecate and don't know anything about this. Oh, they know where they can find the coolest little shop to buy crystals from, which is obviously Captain Cauldron. But
Is it?
but they need to do a cord cutting, or they need their husband to get more overtime, and they work with Hecate for that. But Hecate, I'm going to tell you right now, she will hear you with this more than anything else.
And these will hear you to get the money you want. Why? Because they're closer to the ground. Help them.
Help them, ideally, because it's the right thing.
It's the right
It's the
thing. to
right
do.
thing.
Yeah,
If-
don't ask for anything in
if
return.
it's- yeah, if you are one of these people that can only help because it benefits you in some way, then all I'm gonna say is
Don't call yourself a witch.
don't call
You're not a
yourself
witch.
But but help them because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, the sigil probably won't work.
I have a particular name for people who only help people for helping others. I have a particular
It's
name.
the mafia, right?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, it's a particular name of a particular person.
Well, that's okay. You don't need to.
I'm not going to go there though.
We're talking about this, or we've
'Cause I'm not
chosen
cheating.
this not only because this is just an important thing to be discussing, and I'm gonna probably pick a fight here. I'm gonna probably anger a bunch of people who watch our podcast, but all I have seen in recent months is information about the Israeli-Palestine conflict, and that. And in no way am I trying to make a comparison, and in no way am I trying to say that that is also not a horrific situation. There are women, children being murdered every day through that conflict. People, it's disgusting what humanity can do when we are misguided in our beliefs and our actions. But I've heard a lot about that, and we are now in May. One of the reasons we chose to discuss this is May is the Missing Murder Indigenous Women. This is the month for this. And the thing is it should be bigger than a month.
Yeah, it was one day,
like,
May 5th.
exactly,
And most people
right.
think it's Cinco de Mayo,
Exactly,
wrong day.
exactly,
You guys got that
and so this should be something that is seen and addressed and dealt with and worked toward every day. But I've noticed in recent weeks there's been so much focus on this thing that is happening, horrible as it is, on the other side of the planet, right? And we certainly do need to help there as well, absolutely, right? But we have this shit happening right here in our backyards, and there are still people out there who don't know what MMIW even is. And that, to me, I think is just evidence of the amount of not only misogyny,
Shame.
but the amount of really ultimately white supremacy and racism
Mhm.
that our community just in large continues to operate under.
Yep.
Because if we didn't deal with that, this would be all over the fucking news
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
every day.
Every day.
You know, and so those of you who are bleeding hearts, social justice warriors, those of you who are on your social media websites, TikTok and left and right about, oh, Palestine, wonderful, but take a minute, focus on someone else, shine some of that light on other communities, right? Because charity begins at home, and this shit is right here.
There's a saying, clean up your own backyard before you start to clean
Mhm.
up others,
Exactly.
because you can't do shit for others if your backyard's a mess.
So,
As a practitioner of many years, and I think everyone here can realize this, if you tackle the problem that needs the most attention first, not the one that's getting the most noise, it helps bring resolve to the next thing. And we keep seeing a lot of this horrible stuff happen, and this keeps getting pushed under the rug or shoved to the side. If we were to all get together and do this work and really make sure that this is resolved, it comes to an end, so that our Indigenous brothers, sisters, Two-Spirit, just people could find some peace, we could probably be able to do some awesome good together. Because part of the reason that there's not an accurate number for this is because most Indigenous people don't want to go to people who look like me or Wendy or Mike or anything like that, because you're not going to take them seriously.
well, we haven't done a lot historically to really earn that trust.
Exactly. There's no trust there. We want their
But-
food, we
but
want
we-
their beadwork.
But we do
Mhm.
need
Oh,
to,
yeah.
but we
You
do need
want
to
the
get to a
sage.
point where we need to start finding common. We need to start addressing each other as community
Mhm.
if we're going to help turn a situation like this as
Yeah.
around. And that process begins with Whitey.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Fuck Whitey.
Yeah.
So anyway.
I'm a goofball.
Is there anything else that our audience needs to hear, Fern? I feel like we sat down today and it was like, okay, this is Fern's show, and all I feel like we've done is I'll talk over you. I'm so sorry.
Actually, you've given me the voice and this and the opportunity to and the platform to say something and to bring it up. And the working that we did with our people was absolutely amazing, which brings us to the
Yes.
full moon.
And the sigil.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So we're gonna be doing here at Cat and Cauldron a full moon on May 23rd at 8 p.m. is
Check dates.
Yeah.
That is right.
Pretty sure it's
23rd.
23rd.
Yeah.
For the MMIW to bring awareness to our missing Indigenous women and Two-Spirits. Okay, and I guess you can come wear red, you wear your braids and support. We need just a lot of awareness, a lot of power. Any donations that you give, of course, is going to go to cause and help support our brothers and sisters.
Can we post any of those causes on the Cat and Cauldron site?
Well, so I was gonna say before we signed off, we're gonna put links on the page here. And yes, as the month progresses, we will be sharing that information on our social
Wonderful.
media.
Yes.
And I think that's important because I think that's one of the other things that confuses people a lot. I think a lot of people, like, they want to get involved, they want to help. But then they look at all of
It's
the
overwhelming.
organizations out there and they're like, who's real?
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
where can I do the most good?
Yeah.
You know, and so I think being able to get that information from someone who is within the community, who'd be like, these are the places that are actually helping.
Yeah.
You know, and we can definitely share that information.
Yes, there's a couple, I did some background look at, there's a couple of them that I think I shared with
Yeah.
with us or with you all that are definitely are
Legit.
Yeah,
legit.
those will be some
so-
here.
Perfect.
Following up on what Fern was saying, Wendy, can you tell our audience what they can do with this and if they're not able to join us? Because we have people all over the world.
Yeah.
If they're not able to be with us in person on May 23rd for that full moon, right? How else can they lend their power?
Simple red candle. Draw with a Sharpie this sigil. or you can carve it onto a pillar candle or anything you want.
Red votive.
Red votive, chime candle. I mean, use big girl candles, but red, chime, that's fine.
Whatever you have.
It's the thought, no.
Big girl kind of,
Yeah.
you can burn it through the whole month.
Yeah.
Because it's just the entire month. You
Yeah,
burn it.
and you can see, I think I said earlier, it's got the M, the I, the W, and it also forms the hand. That their voices are no longer able to be heard. And light that sucker up and charge it up just to get the voices, the voices in my head.
Which problems?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, get their names out, get the movement. We need education. We need this to be brought to the forefront. I don't want somebody to come into the shop or somebody I run into in a Starbucks and what is that? What's MMIW? That's sad.
Yeah.
That's sad to me that people don't know what it is. And we have statistics on our community board and people just look at it and it's like,
Well, they're so detached, and it's that like, well, it doesn't affect me personally, and
Right.
this isn't my community,
Yeah.
and therefore I don't really know. I can't humanize this situation. I don't.
Which is, you want to help. It is, the full moon starts at 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Okay. Whatever time zone you're in, you get that red candle, you do what Wendy said, and raise power. Fern, are there any herbals that they could burn to assist?
Sweetgrass. Sweetgrass, offer tobacco, is
Water.
no alcohol.
yeah.
No rum, I know most of our gods, no rum, no alcohol, please, but definitely tobacco, coffee. Yep.
Coffee.
Yeah, they love the coffee, tea, black tea, so you just, put that out around the candle and, do the sigil. And the reason for the arrows is to free them from this bind, from this and release them into the spirit world where they need to be and to be found, who knows? You guys are a bunch of powerful witches, man.
Oh yeah. Our saltines, you guys are the shit when it comes to what you're doing in your own practice, which is why we bring things like this to you. If you were all ignorant and spiritual children, we wouldn't talk about things like this with you because it would be pointless, right? If you are in an area, because I know we've got people in Australia, we've got people all over the place. If for some reason that time zone, 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, like that is not working for you, light your candle the day before, light it the day after. It doesn't matter.
Burn it
Just
all month.
join in, lend your voice, be a part of this.
Please.
And again, even if you are on the other side of the world, be a part of this. Right? These things ultimately affect everybody in some capacity. A single death can ripple out in untold ways. Yeah. Everyone is affected.
I'm going to extend this offer just as a little teaser.
Are you teasing us?
Yeah.
As a little appetizer. I know a lot of you don't get to come and join our full moon rituals. I will make this available online. It'll probably fry my computer. It's worth it. It's worth the cause. I don't need a new one. This is brand new.
You got insurance though, right?
Yeah.
That'd
So
be a funny conversation with the genius that says, what happened to your laptop?
we were doing witchcraft and it exploded. So I will make this available. What I need you to do, you have to do this. Do not message us and ask us how we can do it. You have to do this. This is your homework. Call the shop at 801-601-1795. Again, that number is 801-601-1795. To join, $5 minimum donation. Okay, that will go
that
to
money is all going to
that's
the
all going to this cause. Okay, it's not going to see my pocket. It's not going to see Fern's pocket or Wendy's pocket or Mike's pocket or the shop's pocket. It's going to the cause.
Okay, we should
100%.
make an exception to that though, because we have people overseas
True.
who are not going to want to make that call because that's going to be expensive.
Spending.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
contact us through our social media.
Yes.
If you are overseas, particularly in an area where you're looking at a different currency, don't be worried about it.
Don't be worried about
We
it.
will still include you.
We'll still
Call
include
us,
you.
give us an email, give us.
But don't
a
lie
way
to us 'cause we'll know.
Contact you back, okay, and we will, yes, we will still include
Okay.
you.
We'll figure you out.
So I'm more than willing to do this. I will set it up. You will be able to see what we are doing. You'll be able to participate. You'll be able to anchor that energy in. We have power. Let us use it.
Yes.
Okay? Is there anything else, guys?
Thank you
Thank
guys
you,
for, if you've made it through, this was a deep conversation. And
And if you didn't, well, on
I
you.
know, and if you made it through, especially every single one of those names, that's wonderful. That's amazing. Congratulations. Why congratulations? I don't know, but I'm proud of you. How's that? For sticking with it and, it's a little heavy, but there's heavy in witchcraft.
Yes.
So,
Witchcraft needs the heavy.
yes. it
Yes.
does.
All right, so what I'm gonna do, since we have some awesome guests on the podcast, I'm gonna go ahead and skirt this way. I'm gonna let
And then
Mike come on the
skirt
counter,
That
Oh.
way.
Okay,
and I'm gonna let y'all answer some listener questions with Mike.
oh, okay,
Okay.
I'm ill prepared.
I'm going to
If you want to, you guys can take off.
No?
Mhm.
also. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Sister Wish.
Well, it's not every day that you turn. It's not every day you turn 25.
So I do have one listener question that I'm gonna throw out to you.
I'm trying to track down. If you'll start with yours, please, that'll give me a
Yes.
chance to track mine
So-
down here.
This listener question comes from,
Don't hide.
I don't know if I.
Oh, I'm good. I don't need to be on. Nobody needs to look at this.
I don't know if I should say their name. This question comes from a salty.
We haven't been doing names, so
Okay.
let's.
Hello, it's me again. Hi, me. My question this time around is a bit heavier than my last one, so I do apologize for that. I have a family member who may be an untrained psychic/medium. However, there are also signs of possible undiagnosed mental illness. Is there a way to tell the difference between the two? For context, this family member has accurately predicted future events and has even communicated with spirits of the dead in order to bring peace of mind to those still living. But my concern comes from this individual claiming to be the quote unquote only son of death, like he is a descendant of death itself, can speak to God directly, and has claimed to have had his soul removed and placed back into his body by said entity. He also claims to have no control over his abilities. This individual has been taken advantage of in the past for these things and is refusing to seek medical help or even consider further psychic/mediumship training or consultation. Again, I'm sorry for this being such a downer of a question, but any advice would be appreciated.
We love downer questions.
First of all, I think the medical needs to be addressed first.
Definitely.
That's what I would, getting to the therapist, I know that might be hard with somebody that is maybe in denial a little bit, but getting, this relative, some medical help on some medications. And I think it might be more harmful than it is helpful by denying them, because that's what they truly believe. So what does it hurt if they say that they can communicate with God if they're telling you that? Unless they're going around, the public doing miracles. So that's what I would assume first, is get some medical help first and foremost, and then come to a shop here, the shop here, we actually have a couple, Mike is great, Austin's great, where you can come in and bring your relative if they're willing to meet and talk with them and get some advice. I'm brother maybe? Yeah, brother, relative, whatever. Person coming in to get some spiritual helps from these two wonderful gentlemen. That would be great.
And
Well,
we
we
have
have-
our
well,
lovely practitioners.
We have an amazing team of
Yeah.
practitioners.
Just with the
spirit.
mediumship and that kind of stuff, I think you would be really good with that,
Yeah.
because you both
Yeah.
are very well-respected mediums.
I would say something that could benefit them on a spiritual level would be a good Reiki session.
Yeah,
Okay. That will help clear out some of the gunk that they could have. And it can help settle the mind and the spirit. And potentially remove any negative or harmful attachments that they have.
yeah. We have Reiki practitioners here 7 days a week now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone on the team here is that, and all of us can do distance.
Yeah,
Distance Reiki.
Yeah.
yeah. So if you can't get this relative here, maybe you can do it on the sly and do some distance Reiki, because
And it's up to their spirits to
Yeah,
accept it or not.
exactly.
It's not creating harm or anything.
No.
Hashtag Reiki riches.
I am trying to find this question from Jack. Jack, who is one of our regular
Did they
questions.
send it through Instagram?
I'm not entirely, I believe it came through YouTube, but I'm trying to find it. It might have been on a prior episode. Okay, but I've got one here. Okay.
That's not
Let's see.
good.
Person says,
That's
I don't
good.
understand when I feel insecure. This is gonna go back to the episode we
Grape
did.
soda.
Is that your vape?
Yes.
Yeah, because he's got a great vape.
Yeah.
Great vape. So on our prior episode, we talked a lot about issues of insecurity and how that can put people in a position to behave badly with their magic.
Mhm.
In essence, you know, and we called out, we didn't really call anybody out specifically, but we talked a lot about how we often see people who are trying to practice witchcraft kind of shift into bitchcraft,
Yeah.
where it's like, okay, you're not really doing anything witchcraft wise, you're not really doing anything really spiritual. You couldn't be, because you're still very much caught up by these negative ego behaviors or patterns. So they came back with, I don't understand though, when I feel insecure, they deal, but they also stay away from magic when they're having moments of insecurity. What's your guys' take on that? If you're having a rough one, like if life is just kind of just really throwing you a curveball, things are bad, do you feel it's like, is that a time where you need to maybe take a break from your spiritual practice or your witchcraft?
I personally would say yes, because then you have to look at the mental stability, because you have to be grounded mentally and figure out, is this a mental thing or is this communication? And if you're not grounded, I like when I start getting that achy feeling, because I myself have my mental issues, I will step away from my craft for a second, reground myself, reaffirm, reorient. What is my direction? What is my issue? And then go from there.
I think we've all taken our breaks.
But I
Yeah.
always like 5 minutes.
Yeah. I think we've all taken our breaks, whether that be, a day, a week, 3 months, whatever
6 days.
fits you, that's okay. And if you're strong enough to say, I'm not stable right now, I should not be doing this, then that's even more props to you, I think.
Yeah.
Being brave enough to say that.
Yep.
That means you don't have ego.
Mhm. Well, you have.
Or it's
why you
ego,
have
but
ego.
it's in check.
It's in check.
Balance.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that goes on to the second part of their question, because we talked a lot about kind of the motivation, or one of the things that is a big motivation behind why people who are practicing witchcraft doing these things, why they sometimes find themselves behaving badly,
Mhm.
right? You know, like they get caught up on a power trip, you know, they get a little bit arrogant, you know, and and a lot of that really came down to just a lack of self-awareness.
Yeah.
So is cultivating, I mean, taking witchcraft out of the mix, I think self-awareness is kind of an important thing, right?
Just
Like,
in general, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, but I think even more so, like I think if you're practicing witchcraft and doing these things, I think it's even more important for you to cultivate a good sense of self-awareness,
Yes.
because
Oh,
you're
yeah.
dealing with lots of other different energies and
Mhm.
powers and things at that point, right? It's like, in a sense, it's like you're almost kind of more capable or more dangerous
Yes.
in those situations, where if you're you know, if
Mm.
you're out of control, or you're not really mindful of what you're doing, or if you know,
Mhm.
yeah. So
Well, a really good example is people who are having a bad day or a bad week, and they automatically decide to do a return to sender, and then things just keep getting worse. The reality of the matter is you're probably the source of your negativity, and so it's getting returned to you.
Mhm.
And so having a large enough window of self-perception and enough self-awareness to be able to step back and go, okay, is this magical, or is this just a shitty day? And accept it. Because
Mhm.
acceptance really is one of the big things that witchcraft teaches us is you can accept something for what it is. That doesn't mean you need to forgive. That doesn't mean you need to forget. It means that you can accept, you know what, today was just not a good day. And it's okay. It's okay to not have a good day. Using a personal example, I've had those moments where I'm like, I'm fucking crossed up. I'm crossed up, something's wrong, something's wrong, something's wrong. And it's only been within the last couple of years where I've taken a minute during those moments to step back and go, you know, am I crossed up? I don't think I'm crossed up. I think I'm just having a bad couple mental health days, and allow myself to just kind of sit there, focus on healing work, go a little bit deeper. And then, you know, after a week or so, if it's still kind of poopy, then yeah, I mean, a good cleanse can never hurt you, you know.
No,
You know, go
pour your
ahead, do
water
your
and-
cleanse, do some stuff, but you know, don't get caught up in that stuff.
Don't get stuck in your head.
So one of the other things is self analysis is basically how you can continue, because we talk a lot about how the only way that you're really going to continue to grow and cultivate power with these kinds of practices is to do the thing. So their concern was, well, if I'm having a difficult time and I'm choosing to step away, or I'm no longer actively in practice, how am I then still cultivating power and knowledge? And the real answer is that you're not.
You're not.
But that balance that you're going to be working toward by taking a step back is so important.
You can't go to the gym 2 times a day, every single day, in a caloric deficit and hope to get the physique you want.
This sounds almost this sounds almost like a personal.
Nope. Yeah.
Are you relating a personal anecdote of some kind?
Well, no, but that
you're
really
good,
is
you're good.
that really is what it is. On a magical level, when you're flexing muscles to grow your power and your abilities and hone your craft, you'll reach a point of that. You'll reach a point where you're like, okay, well, I think I need to take a step back. And that's okay. You take your rest and you'll come back and you'll be even better for it. You'll have greater mental clarity, greater spiritual clarity, emotional clarity, all those things.
Well, so what would, to add to that, what would you guys say? Because I think in kind of just wrapping up on this particular question, because I've got a couple more here. Cultivating power as a spiritual practitioner, I think is an important thing. Is an important thing. Sorry, I was stuttering there for a moment. But if you haven't done the personal work to know how to really properly apply that power, like, so what's your take on that? Because I think to me it seems almost like the personal work behind the development of power really should probably be more.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, and as we've been taught and learned and read, your first altar is yourself. And if you don't honor your first altar, the rest of your altars don't get filled. So what this means is honoring yourself, believing in yourself, and you're always a witch. Just because you're not doing active spell work does not mean I can't call myself a witch anymore or participating in ritual. You are a witch. If you're a witch, you're a witch. But it's okay because you are minding that first altar, I think. And you're gonna cultivate power when you get back into it.
Yeah.
If you need to take a year off, 2 years off, you can still read and learn. It doesn't
Yeah,
mean you
yeah,
have to be, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna add. It was there's, the times where I've taken a break, you know. And not, I think the longest that I went was probably about a week. And that was just because I was going through a lot of mental, emotional issues and dealing with the loss of loved ones. And so like I had to literally, and it was okay because when I stepped away, I actually found a book. I found a book to read, and like I was like, okay, I can read this. And ironically, it was about taking care of yourself.
Oh, okay. All right. That was what you needed to hear, right? What you needed to hear.
Yeah, you take a book, and read. So, but yeah.
Hopefully that answers.
I think we touched upon some good points there, I think. Okay, so all right, I found Jack's questions. Jack is always challenging us with questions because he asks some things that are I'm gonna say a little out there, but I mean that in a good way. So so question 1, is there a way to place your spirit into something or someone? Sounds kinky, I know.
Sounds like a Horcrux.
Sounds like what a medicine woman would do.
Yeah, I mean, in answer to the question, Excuse me, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. In answering your question, I would say yes.
Yes.
And there would probably be a number of ways really to go about doing
Maybe.
that, depending on your practices.
Well, I mean, when you baptize or name something for someone, you're placing a portion of their spirit in there.
Well, okay, so just to be clear, I believe that Jack is actually talking about like taking a part of yourself and putting it into something, or potentially even putting a part of yourself into another person. And I could say that yes, I've read some things over the years. I guess there's some, yeah, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. There's yes, that's exactly what I was gonna say. It's like yeah, like I honestly I don't know under what motivation you would need to do that. To be honest, that's
Control.
not really going to benefit you. Yeah, well, yeah, for the other person, you're right. Yeah, that would be true.
Mm,
Yeah.
I mean,
So yes, there are ways, and in answering that, if you want to kind of go into that a bit more, Jack, I'm just going to say like if you send me a private message, and I can maybe point you in the right direction, because we're getting into an area there that is often kind of like a like again, kind of like an ethical or moral gray area. And because I'm not entirely sure who ultimately will get this information through the podcast, and don't know that I really want to go there on camera right now, but I'm happy to talk with you about that. But in answering your question, yes, you can do these things. You're gonna need to really eat your Wheaties though with that kind of practice. Not only do you need the knowledge and the energy coming from your side, but anytime you're trying to deal with someone else in a situation like that, you're going to have to fight all of their spiritual
Everything.
allies to get there. And so that can be a lot depending on who that person is. So, so let's talk privately. Okay. And I'll maybe give you some info. All right. How would one construct a spirit anchor, an object or entity capable of focusing energy spirits into a fixed point? Okay. Like a servitor.
Yeah,
in essence, right? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so as far as like how you construct one, again, there are so many ways to construct servitors. Do you guys want to share? Like, have you guys in the process of maybe working with a servitor, or even just something that was like just an energetic focus of some sort? Do you guys have any?
I work with a servitor and it's in my teddy bear. And it's activated when the house gets angry and people are off the rocker and mentally or not feeling lonely, then it just activates and I feed it with light.
Perfect. All right.
So,
Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think most witches have some kind of a servitor.
Yeah.
That's a generalization, but the servitor is something that you should have a bond with. You have to have an agreement with it. Like it needs to be fed. Like Fern says, she feeds hers with light. Yeah, like I have a servitor that lives in the bottom of my purse and its food is my loose change because I'm a lazy witch.
I think that's working smart, not lazy. There you go.
That's a Taurus witch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and we've talked a little bit about servitors, but I mean, we also, if you look at the lore kind of behind practice, we also see things like the fetch, right? We see spiritual familiars, right? And I think culturally, ethnically, all over the world, every culture has a spiritual practice, and most of those practices are going to incorporate working with these kinds of spiritual allies, or working with ways that help us to kind of kind of set energy in a particular way, right? And I think there are just that's something I think that's just been a huge practice.
Oh yeah.
Over many years. So yeah, I think Fern, you made a really good point though with your example, because I think that a really good way, particularly in answering constructing one, I think giving something like this a physical space, like its own physical representation, is always really effective.
Yes.
Beyond that, I would say maybe to charge that physical item, to dress it, anoint it. If it's something you can put things inside, stuff it with things that are going to hold the energetic focus or symbolize what you're trying to get that thing to be.
Yeah. I put the names of the family members on a piece of paper and put it in the servitor and told the servitor, these are your focus. And it's specifically for those individuals. So you can actually make and direct it, but you have to make sure you are very matter of fact of what they're supposed to do, when, why, where. Otherwise, it's chaos.
Final point on this. Is there a practical way to identify one? And I think identify when they're talking about, Jack is talking specifically about a focused energy or a fixed point of power. How to identify?
Breathworking, meditation.
It's gonna have a certain charge to it. So are they talking about like servitors?
Well, that's kind of where we went with one of our examples. And in looking at this, the first thing that came to me is that this would probably be something that would be very individualistic.
Yeah.
Because we all have different kinds of ways to picking up and sensing things. But I think you guys threw out some really good ones. I think divination is always a good one for this. I've had moments, I know you guys all have too, because we've shared these stories. Every witch that's been in practice for a while will have these stories where you've come across something. And I think this happens in antique shops a lot for you, anyway, where you come across something and you don't even really need to touch it. You're just in proximity and you get, and for me, the only way to describe it is I get like this weird, like belly flop.
Yeah.
And it almost in that moment, I get like that sense almost of kind of like a deja vu. Like it's not a deja vu, but it's very much that like, whoa, my reality just shifted in some way.
Yeah.
And it's very temporary.
Yeah.
And then, and usually if I have a moment like that, that to me is then a sign like I either, depending on, whatever it is and where I'm at that day myself, right? I'm either like, okay, do I want to move forward? Maybe this is a sign, or nah, I'm not really up for this today, but I know you guys have had similar experiences.
Oh, yeah.
Is there anything else that you have found successful in kind of helping to track down or to determine like a particular energetic focus or?
Yeah. Yeah, pendulums would, where I've actually used a pendulum, and I actually told the pendulum not to move or do anything until it felt another spirit around.
Okay.
And it was kind of funny because I'm going through savers.
Okay.
So that's the least crazy we've seen.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. That's
Pendulum,
pretty
so
funny.
I've actually done that.
I don't think about those places. I mentioned antique shops because I know Wendy loves to go antiquing, but second hand versus vintage and thrift shops, that would be another big, yeah.
Pendulum at those shops.
Yeah.
Like, you can actually make yourself into a
Yeah,
pendulum.
so that's kind of, I feel you're drawn to certain things, you feel pulled to a certain area and you don't know why, just listen to your gut. You can even, like, I've seen a wonderful Austin go crazy in an antique shop. I need to find something today for blah, 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 and he just cuts loose in the store and it
Yeah.
takes him. Yes, this thing as a matter
Oh,
of fact.
yes.
This
Oh
is
my
our
gosh.
antique shopping.
I thought Julie found that.
No.
Oh, okay.
Austin
Okay,
found this in an
gotcha.
antique shop.
Okay.
It's brass with oak leaves, so this is what we're using for our hecateon. And sorry, I won't wet you.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
this was literally that day, he's like, I'm gonna find something for, we didn't know what we bought it for either.
Ah, okay.
And lo and behold, here we go.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Set your goals before you go to a store. I'm gonna find something for my spiritual practice, for my devotion to Hecate, and let yourself go and see what happens. It's kind of fun.
I actually did that when I was going to be a dedicant.
Oh, yeah, with the dress.
And with my dress,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I wanted this really cute dress that I found online, and I ordered it, and come to find out it wasn't going to be 6 months before it got here because it was from overseas. So literally the day before, I was like in tears, and I just said, okay, I'm like, land spirits, Lare, Calgary, Kevin, if I'm supposed to be, I'm meant to be here. Lucifer, Araria, Hecate, Diana, find the dress for me. And I literally went into the Savers and just beelined, and I found this amazing dress.
Yes.
And it was actually identical to the one that I wanted.
Oh.
And it was cheaper, like $8
Yeah,
compared to
yeah.
150.
Oh, yeah. Don't sleep on those secondhand stores.
Yeah.
You can find some good stuff.
I always love hearing stories of Ferns because she gets so passionate and emotional about it. And I'm like, someone who gets me.
We're a very passionate group, I think. Well, most of us anyway.
I also noticed that I'm the only one not wearing black today.
Yeah, what's wrong with you?
I was wearing
Black,
black for
this
an
month,
MMIW.
black and red. Black and red are always good witchy colors, though, I think.
Agree.
Black is very slimming. It also doesn't show like dirt and things like that. So if you can't live with white cats and things like.
Or a
white-
Chico.
I've got, yes, we have a little blonde chihuahua living with us now, and I've got little blonde dog hair all over my,
Lily
Oh,
kids.
it's fur glitter.
is it fur glitter?
Oh,
Okay, okay, I'll remember that next time, and I won't get so hostile with it. Gotcha, yeah.
You're covered in pug glitter. We're covered in Chihuahua glitter and sometimes Roxy glitter.
Roxy glitter is really long. Anyway, this
Anyways,
experience, real quick, just getting back, one final thing before, because we're gonna go. We've answered our questions and we're gonna sign off and let everybody go on with their evening. But one final thing though, you'll often have experiences like this when you talk about energetic focuses and things. You'll often run into these things just out in nature, just out in the world. And you know, a lot of people like to call these things like portals or vortexes or things like that, ley lines. Yeah. You know, and in those situations, you know, I think it's always good to be a little wary going in. It's not that you need to be fearful of those things, but if something like that is already in a space, that typically means that there's been a lot of other spiritual activity and potentially very intelligent spiritual activity there in that space. And I think that in those moments, you need to be so respectful.
yes.
And you know, and yeah, I think if you find these occurring naturally, it's always better to kind of really do a lot of investigation before you decide to do any kind of energetic tampering or to kind of anchor anything to that energy or that space, including yourself, because those spaces could really fuck you up. Yeah, but those things happen all over the place, I think, just naturally. Yeah. All right. That's all I had. So,
All right.
we're good.
Yeah.
Fern, thank you so much.
You're
Wendy,
welcome.
thank you so much. Yes. Okay. All right.
Awesome.
All
Well,
right.
thank you so
Okay.
much.
Come on over here and shut us down. Bye, everybody.
Bye.